things I need to mention before we get started. So that'll give folks time to kind of join us if they want to. Let me put my tweet out. Okay, first things first, it has been officially announced that the last day of WildStar will be November 28th. There is a official post from WildStar on their website. You can read all the specifics. Basically, they've done their final update, and it's included a lot of tweaks to kind of give existing players a little bit of a fun ending to their adventure. Like, I think everyone's been given signature status. They've upped the Omnibit drop rates considerably. They've done some rebates on those that paid for signature and that kind of thing. So yeah, if you want to read all about those details and what all is coming up, I suggest you do that. There also are some returning events. They are going to have Shades Eve and the Winterfest Extravaganza. Yes, they will be out of sync from the actual real life dates of those particular holidays that they represent, but it's kind of, again, a last little hurrah for existing players, and especially for those that are a little newer to the community that haven't experienced these events. I think a lot of people were delighted to hear that they were going to be running those again for a final time. There's also, let's see, the Z-Pre Invitational is going to be running. I think that's closer to the end. The dates and everything, there's like October 12th through 19th is the residential renovation. The 19th through November 2nd will be Shades Eve, and then the Winterfest event will be the 9th of November through the 23rd. And then the last week will be that Z-Pre Invitational for those of you that like the hoverboard racing event and all that. Now, I don't know exactly what hour on the 28th that they're going to be closing down, but it happens to land on a Wednesday. So the plan is I will be streaming the final WildStar live stream for me on the 28th, that morning of. I'm hoping that it doesn't close that morning for me. I don't know, I think it makes sense that they would probably do it their evening hours, so that'd be morning for me. So I should have plenty of time, because if we go by like when they do their maintenance and stuff, it's usually my afternoons. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that's kind of the same way it's going to be with the actual closure. If we find out any more specifics about the actual time that the servers were shut down, and if it kind of clashes, then I might do a Tuesday stream for that week. But for now, the 28th will be our final. So I think we've got 8 or 9 episodes to go through. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. Morning, Bones. Glad you could join. So for today, we're going to do something slightly different than our usual house tours. We will have one tour as long as we've got time at the end. Whoops, just dropped something off my desk. But Maylin, or May, hosted a player housing contest. I think they started it last month or the month before. This was before the announcement that the game was shutting down. As it happens, they decided to continue with the competition. There were some builders that ended up withdrawing, I guess due to depression about the game ending, and just decided to give up entirely, but quite a few actually held out. And so in the end, there were supposed to be some actual like prizes and stuff besides just plat, but again, due to the nature of how things have turned out, Malin just upped the plat amount so that they could go crazy with, I guess, purchasing decor and everything that they might want. In the end, there were 5 builders that participated, and Malin decided to give them all rewards for that participation. So we have a 1st through 5th place, and we'll be going through them backwards. We'll do the 5th place visit first, and so forth, and we'll end up with the 1st place winner. I just want to thank the builders that took the time to participate in this contest. Originally, it was meant to be a 2-parter. They were going to, Malin wanted to have builders come up with a concept of a prefab home for the 2 races that didn't actually have one in game yet, and that would be the Macari and the Mordesh races. Carbine had said several times that it was in consideration, and they even kind of hinted that maybe they would take concepts from the players themselves and maybe tweak it a little bit. And so I think that inspired Malin to this particular challenge. In the end, it didn't work out that way. So there won't be a 2nd part for the Mordesh versions of people's ideas of what the prefab home would look like. But we at least have the Macari stuff. So again, the premise is the builders were asked to come up with a Macari-themed prefab home. Now, as we start doing our visits, you'll see that they have a basic concept of what the exterior would look like, and then they used like an instance in some cases, or some cases they actually built it into the model that they put together for the interior. So you have to use your imagination a little bit, or kind of look past how they've set it up, because they'll have like an exterior build, and then the other side, another structure will be the interior part. They were told basically not to furnish it or anything, not to change the lighting really, just to leave it as if someone had come in straight up and that was the prefab home that they got. So it's basically just a shell of a house. But they were, allowed to come up with like the shape and the bling on the outside and everything. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. And yes, I agree with you, Bones, that I would have preferred to see the Mordish versions. I don't know why. I think it's because we already have so much um, Macari slash Dominion slash Elden, like gold and everything kind of stuff. And I think it would have been more challenging to come up with the Mordesh side of it. But that's not how it turned out. So, yeah. Hey, Cowboy. Glad you could join. And yes, I think we all love WildStar. It's a shame that things have not gone as we would have hoped, but we still have these last few streams to go through some of these houses, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it and everything. Let's see. So I got that part out of the way. That's out of the way. Okay. Before we get started, though, I do want to mention this little doodad here. Some of you may have noticed it was added in the latest update. It's called the Buoyant Builder's Brew. Now, I tested it out earlier, and I can't figure out how to get rid of it. I don't know if I have to actually leave housing and then come back. I've just stayed, but I actually logged out and come back, and I apparently still have this buff, whatever, but I don't see a buff to, to turn off, so I don't know how to get rid of it. When they originally described it in the patch notes, I suspected it was like their version of like a free camera kind of thing, so that a builder could freely roam and be able to view their house from all angles, from way out and, allow them to get a wider kind of screenshot thing. That's not how this is. It's more like a kind of a really floaty jump. Um, I've nearly died a couple of times by accidentally falling, well, hitting something as I'm falling, and it's kind of like the fall damage we used to take out in the real world if we're falling off, from a cliff or something, or not even that. Sometimes if you just hit a rock a certain way, it like, do some major damage. That's what's been happening with this. So I personally wouldn't recommend activating it, but if you did, have some fun with it. But anyway, so the first plot we're visiting is, let me make sure I get the name right, Noria Detail. This was the 5th place winner. And again, this is a housing competition hosted by Malin. And again, the premise is they were to come up with a Macari style house. Now, I don't know if it was specifically supposed to be a spacious one. I suspect so, just because of the look of most of them. Now, I'm going to try and identify most of the pieces being used, but I guarantee I'm probably not going to be able to get all of them. But like this part, I think is a piece of one of the Macari items. In fact, let me pull up Katya's shopper here. I think trying to see, not pictures for everything. I think most of those are NPCs. Okay, so like this part here, I think that's what this is. This bit here. And like this bit with this little filigree, the markings on the wall, this little bumpy, and then this thingamabob there. I'm like really good with the terms today. I believe it is Eldon, the shrine, this one. Yeah, see, it's the same. You can see the lines piece and the bumpy bit here, and they've just pushed it down enough to blend it in. There are some Orin curved walls or tubes they're using for the main body of it. Back here, I think this is a combination of like the back side of the portrait. This one here, back side of that for the main part of it, and then like it's probably, I want to say it's the emblem thingy, but I'm not sure. No, that doesn't look right. Maybe this thing here, part of that. It's hard to tell. Might be this one there. Kind of looks like that marking with the cross heel. I think these are part of the struts. Yeah, I think it's maybe not that particular one. I think there's a couple of different ones. There's like so many different pieces to pick from. Really not sure. Maybe this one? I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of Eldon, Macari, and Dominion pieces being used. Like I think this is, again, one of those portraits. the one with the lady's face behind this like thick layer of glass. Um, the roof, I think, is mostly there's like the travel posters here, and then these are the golden arrows. And then this part, I think, again, is another one of the Macari pieces. I think it's the bottom of it, one of the chairs or the table or something. Here, again, I don't know which pieces that is. Eldon, it might even be some of the Taurine stuff. I think they have a lot of gold. But it looks Eldon to me because of the green with the gold. Then they got the Dominion cage. I think this is a Macari chair. But again, this is kind of a faux exterior. They don't have an actual door built in. So that's the exterior of this particular one. Now, if we want to see the interior, we have to visit the bunker house. And you have to pretend that this here is the door coming in. So you would see this view when you enter the building. Let me turn this off. So again, this is that lady's portrait, the back side of the one. A lot of the emblems and the flashing bits, I have no idea what parts those are. Some of the Eldon or Technophage stuff. Again, this, I'm not even sure. It's probably the bottom of one of the Macari chairs or something. I know they have some weird shapes. And it's just kind of set down as like a little emblem that you get inside. This here, this part here. Oh, okay. So this bit that we saw in the back of the house on the exterior, apparently that's those wall scrolls, the exotic wall scroll. This is two of them, I think, or maybe one big one, and they just covered the middle with a travel poster. These here, I think those are Cassian. Let me see. Going to be looking at the shopper a lot just to kind of, yeah, I think it's this, the lamppost bottom that we're seeing here. And then this part here, I think, is part of the Macari chair. You can see the wings right here. And in fact, it activates when I hover over it. This bit here, I believe, are just a bunch of the charming bars just stacked galore to make this like screened wall kind of thing. Now remember how the exterior looked, it was had the two bulby bits on the back side. They've replicated that shape in here to give you an idea of what it would look like. And they've just chosen to make this a full-on one giant room, kind of like the interior of the bunker house, but instead of having like two floors already built in, they've left it the single floor. So yeah, I thought it was a fun way of doing it. Again, they were told to keep it unfurnished so that it would be as if a player had purchased a Macari themed prefab home. This is what they would start with, and then they would be allowed to, you know, furnish it and decorate it however they wish. So again, those backside where that screen part is, that would be here in this area. Now, I don't know if maybe that floaty stuff will get me. Oh, it looks like it may be starting to wear off. Yeah, finally. An interesting concept with the slanted roof, certainly different from the other ones that I took a look at. Um, Again, I don't know if it was meant to be the cozy version or the spacious version. I think it would probably work since it's a single room, probably for the cozy version of it. And the spacious would maybe have a second floor or a corridor leading to another little side room or something like that. Okay, so that was Noria details. So let's move on to uh, pivots. Bycinia pivots, I think is how it's said. Let me go ahead and click this again because there are going to be some instances where we'll want to use it. Just be aware, it'll take a while to get back down. Get back down. It's not quite like the buff you get from Farside. I think Farside is a little less floaty, sort of, because it takes a while depending on how high up you manage to make it. Now that Elden Shrine again is being used here, but it's upside down in this case. And again, this is their version of what a Makari house would be like. I think these are the charming bars again, just several to make this little weird dome shape. I think this here is the Dominion bookshelves, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think that's what that is. And then, of course, again, the Oran curved walls. The charming bars for little accents on here. I think that's the Dominion landing. This part here is, I think it's the Dominion banner. Yeah, I think it's this. See the wings and this little part, and they're using this area here as the doorway to that landing. Yeah, I think it's this one here. You can see the wingtips, the same ones here. So this would be the landing pad stairs Dominion for that one. These here, again, I think those are those Cassian lamps. I think it's this here. You can see the little button doodad with the little bar on either side. Right here. This is the leather couch. It's upside down. This whole part that looks kind of like the awning, that's that purple gaudy looking leather couch. Let's see, I don't know if I can. I just like went right through that. That was weird. Up to the tippy top. Yeah. So again, I think it's charming bars. I don't know if that's all of this or what, but it's topped with that fountain that a lot of people like to use. So again, it's not really a free roam camera kind of thing, which I had thought that's just what it was originally. And to be honest, it kind of ticked me off when they had mentioned that they were including it, because I was like, why didn't they add that so long ago? Because people have been begging for it. But now that I see how it behaves, I'm not so disappointed because it doesn't really work like I would like. Um, but here you've got the little main center room. I think it's hover part pieces for the roof, or in floor tiles for the tiling there. More hover part pieces here, I believe. And then for the staircase, which is on both sides, it's the airtight containers. And that brings you up to the second floor. Again, hover part pieces for most of the woodwork here. And again, I'm not sure what they're using for the centerpiece. I suspect that's why it looks the way it does on the outside as well. But again, I have no idea what's. These parts here almost look like picket fence stuffs. Always looking out with the breakfast. I still gotta make mine. My stomach's probably gonna be cursing me. So that is, or this is, Ksenia Pavlov's 4th place winner entry thingy. Again, a lot of the materials are the same, just used differently. I mean, you could see how just flipping this upside down changed the look of how it's presented. It's similar colors, you know. Again, the Macari are very into the Dominion theme with all of the gold and everything, and I guess they wanted to bring that. There's plenty of decor, obviously, that lends itself to that gold and very mechanical look, I guess. Okay, so the next one is, I get this right, Terran Straza. Now, Malin was nice enough to include the actual main builder's name as well, but I prefer not to do that because it just gets confusing to me. Okay, Land Missy. So this one really looks to me more like the cozy version. It looks very compact, but it might not be. Maybe it's meant to be the spacious version, but it looks pretty nifty, if you ask me. Now again, this is a faux door. It's just representative of what it should look like on the outside. The interior is actually the structure over here, which we'll take a look at shortly. But yeah, I don't know what all this stuff is. I suspect these are some of the landing pads. It could be the bottoms of the chairs. I would try and show that here. Let's see. But unfortunately, like, I think it's the bottom of this. I can't show the bottom. It doesn't rotate that way. It only goes round and round instead of to the side as well. But I think it's this. The bottom of this is being used for the stairway here. This again, I think, is part of that landing pad with the wings. This here, you can see it looks like it says Temple Interface, but I think it's also part of, which if we back off a little bit, you see that bulby part. I think it's that shrine again, apparently a favorite piece. Just being turned and used as kind of the awning slash, if we go up here, you can see as a balcony bottom as well. These here, I think, are some of those struts. I'm glad I didn't use this shopper every time we toured a house because it's really not handy because it covers up what you're wanting to look at. But I think it's something along these lines. It's probably a different one. There's like two or three, and it could be part of the building blocks from the newer like Dominion stuff. But at the top of it is the golden arrows, and you can see it a little better. They actually built a little path so that you can view the other side's version. With the golden arrows, and then these little weird strut things. The shrine. This moving part, I think, is one of the Makari chairs or lamps or something. Same way here. It's this thing here. Yeah, I think it's this one. The wings here, which is weird because I'm not sure because it's not moving as much. Maybe it's this. Yeah, it's this. This whole back side of the chair. All of these wings. Because these wings barely move. This one is jittery too much. Trying to figure out. I think this part here is two of these. So it's like looking at it, they've turned it on its side, and it's like two of them. I believe this here is partly the Dominion bookshelf. And then for most of the walls and stuff, I think again it's a lot of those shrines, just two of them like sandwiched together. And then there's these little bits here. I think that's some of the Makari chairs and such. Now, this might also be that, what's that? The guy in the box. The one that kind of goes nuts. I can't remember the name of it. But I think that's what this is. And then here is like the bottom of the chairs. Same chair being used here with the wings. You just see it probably upside down or something, so you don't see the wing parts sticking out. Now you'll see here in a moment why they chose to go kind of tall with their build for this particular one. Little lighty view. This is so weird that you can do that, but there's a good shot, a side view of it. You'll see why here shortly. This is to be the interior. So now you pretend, I think, that this is the door that you would come in. Yeah, I think you'll see this as you come inside. So you've got to pretend that this is just a closed off wall here. So again, I think this is part of the chair part. And then a lot of the walls are actually from the Dominion Builder Pack, I believe. So as you come into that tower thing, you get like an entry room, or you could probably make a small bedroom or a small kitchen or whatever on either side. The staircase is just a pillar with golden triangles used as the stairs. Now I'm having to be careful on this because this is how I nearly died or whatever, because of the way the floaty stuff behaves. It slams you down, take a lot of damage. So that brings you up to the second floor. And again, there's a lot of those, the curved walls. I don't know what pieces these are, but these are presumably the doorways to those balconies that we saw on either side. That's part of the Makari chair, like a couple of them. And then again, this little entranceway for the stair. That's part of the Dominion decor pack. builder's pack that came with a lot of like blocks and walls and archways and gates. I'm already losing my voice again. If you hear some hollering, that's Butter asking for Biscuit's attention. She usually grabs a toy, which is not the toys we actually buy her. It's wads of paper that she goes around and carries like they're her babies. And she carries it around and meows at him, saying, "Give me some attention, come play with me." She sounds so forlorn, though, and sad. And you want to just go up and cuddle her, but you can't because she'll run from you. She's still kind of a wild thing. Okay, so that was Terran Straza's idea or concept of what a Makari house would look like. So that was third place. Fourth place went to, oh no, wait. I think I did these backwards. Okay, yeah. That was third place, excuse me. So second place is Kula. Man, I can't read my writing. Markara? I hope that's right. Hunting leaves. Oh, yeah, I got to keep those leaves in line there. Whee! Okay, again, this is one of those cases where they've built the exterior here and the interior over here. So the interior looks really weird because they didn't like cover the outside. So you can tell some of the pieces, there's like some Osin stuff sticking out. There's that armoire or dresser thing from the Dominion side. There's all sorts of weird pieces, but once you go inside, you'll see how it looks. But this is the exterior presented. Now, again, they're using a lot of the same pieces that we've seen. This is like that Makari piece that they were using, this one here. Got the little twisty top. I think this part here is this. You can see the red, like little crystals coming out of the side there. I think that's what this is. This is the Dominion bunker, I think. Again, I think this is one of the Makari pieces. Clear plastic lid. Butter's gotten into where she likes, we have these little clips, plastic clips that we use for like sandwich bags or potato chip bags or something. And she's fallen in love with the little yellow one. She carries it around quite a bit. Hey, Missy. There's a little bit of, looks like datascape windows, or maybe some of those, what were they called? Retros cubes. It could be some of those. The front and the porch area, I think a lot of that was some of the Dominion builder blocks, accented with like the emblem from the Dominion stuff, the fencing, and the statues, of course. And then again, there's that Makari chair. Probably the landing pad as well for the stairs. Again, it's one of those weird things that where the builder's using practically the same materials, but here we've seen three different or four different incredible designs, and none of them look the same. I mean, the concept is the same as far as the general shape. I mean, but just the detail is, I can get a better shot of like this roof and everything. It's just crazy the thought that went into mushing these pieces together to make them look like an actual house. So again, this is a faux door. You're to pretend as if we've entered the building by going over here. Now, last time I had trouble getting inside this thing. Let me see if... Ooh, no problem this time. So yeah, they're using those Tetris blocks pretty crazily here in the interior. I'm still floating. Let me just settle myself down. Come on, land already. She doesn't want to land. There we go. So it looks like one of the emblems and possibly the bottom of one of the landing pads or those chairs or something. And then they've inlaid all of these dizzying retros blocks. Personally, I would not love this floor. It would be something I would literally want to cover up immediately just because it bothers my eyes. I'm really prone to dizziness when it comes to that kind of animated stuff, so I'm just going to kind of move along. But for others, that might be pretty cool, for especially if you want to do a disco thing or something. That would work really good for that. So here we can see like the side of that that armoire or dresser. I'm sure I'm not saying that right. And then some of that Osun stuff. We saw the materials from the outside. This is what they wanted to, so they gave us a second floor. Now, I don't know what's producing the steam. I don't know if that comes from an actual smoke decor piece that they got from the pack, or if it's part of that Osun item that has some smoke. I know there's some of them that have that built in, but yeah. And the ramps, I think, again, are from that builder pack. I have to leave this room. It's not good for my eyes. But again, it's their concept. You know, with the Macari, it's all robotics and stuff, so it wouldn't surprise me that someone would think that looking kind of digital or whatever. I'm surprised, honestly, that folks didn't like use like some of the Red Moon screens and stuff, or even some of the display panels and everything in their builds to make it look more robotic, I guess. I think of a lot of digital stuff, and that didn't come off as much as I thought it would, which surprised me. But yeah, again, I think they were mainly aiming for Dominion flavor Macari style. So okay, so that was our second place. First place went to Acadia Lockless. Again, my writing is awful. And you'll see really quickly why this one took first place. When I saw it, I was like, wow. As far as I know, they weren't given a limit as to how many pieces they were permitted to use. I think some of my challenges in the past, I kind of was mean to the builders that I presented my challenges to and said, hey, I want you to do this, but you have to keep it under a certain amount of decor. This one obviously didn't have a limit because this one is just awesome, awesomely detailed. There's just so much going on here. And I promise you I will not be able to tell you every single piece that was used, but some of it's pretty recognizable. But yeah, look at this. It is stunning in just the colors and the shape and the patterns. It's just crazy what they come up with. I mean, mean, look at the fluted little overhangs, the roofing for this. That's just so beautiful. And yes, it works for this Macari style home, but I can imagine with that green that could easily be translated to a orange style house, finding a different roofing, maybe less bright gold and everything, and certainly no reds. That is just astounding. I mean, look at the details of the windows and everything. It's just incredibly intricate. And again, I can't imagine how many pieces they used for this. So let's see if we can identify some of this. I honestly have no idea what most of this on this roof is. It looks Eldony, but again, I'm not positive. I'm not even sure if there's like been some color shifting involved, but I can kind of make out like this part here looks to be the edges of the Hugel portraits, and this part here looks to be a pair of the charming bars stuck together to make these little weird circles, and then they filled it with another item to add that blue. This here, I'm not sure what that is. I'm honestly stumped. Let me see and figure out what that is. I wanted to say it was maybe this and possibly recolored, but I'm honestly not sure. Just not too many items that has that shape that I'm thinking of. I don't think that's it. I'm honestly stumped. I have no idea. Could be Eldon, possibly. I really don't know. But there's a lot of it, whatever it is. See if I can lower down a bit. Now, this part here with the blue like glowy sticks and this backside, I think that's the dresser. I think it's called a dresser. Okay, maybe not. I think it's this, yeah. The side or the back. Kind of hard to tell because the shape is kind of the same. I'm going to go with the back side. And then it's several of them smushed together end to end, so that's why you get the crisscross of the blue glowy sticks. And then this part here, these little overhangs, those are the Dominion dressers for sure. And then the Datascape windows inlaid underneath there. Same way with these bits here, the little fluted covering for the like little mini tower. Those are again the Datascape windows. Just beautifully, it looks like almost like a flower petal kind of thing. The windows are 4 of those red moon lights lined up for each one. There's a charming bar just kind of blocking it in. I think that's part of one of the Macari chairs or lamps. More Datascape windows for this part. And then I think this bit here is charming bars and bookcases, I think, with a little bit of possibly some of the trim from the Dominion Builder Pack. This part here that looks really like metalish is, I think, the back side of some of the portraits. There's like several that have that look. I think it's these, yeah. They have that metal look. Some of them are longer, wider. They all have that metal backing. And so if you can't get a hold of the same one, any of them will probably work well. And then again, I think this part is the bookcase. Bookshelf. And where you see the double, it's just two of them blended together end to end to make that curvy shape for the pattern. Same way on the edges here. I think some of this is the, I don't know what it's called. It's like the sandbag thingies, but I'm not sure the name of it. Barrier, I think. It's one of those. Yeah, it looks like it's two of them here. I think that's what that is. There might be a double one somewhere. Yeah, here. There we go. Barricade thing. That's what this is. These parts here, I think, are airtight containers. These here are the locked chests, I think, or the exile chest. It's funny to see some of these items. You look at it and it goes, that's a chest. And then here they're using it like as the edge of a little outlet from the house. So weird. This is that Macari thing again. They're just using the, you can see this part here is tucked in. And this, I think, is hidden as well. It's just kind of just sandwiched up in there. It's the same item. You can kind of see the one part sticking out a little bit. This here apparently is the Eldon Laboratory display. Again, same stuff. Used it all around, so it's a very nice, even, like what do they call it? Matchy, symmetrical. There we go. Matchy. Okay, the front porch. There's a lot of detail here as well. There she goes flying again. I didn't even jump. Just walked up the stairs. This part here is, again, I can't show it well because it won't show the bottom, but maybe it's actually the bottom of this. It's the bed, the Dominion bed. It has that particular pattern. A lot of people like to use it for floors, and I've seen some use it for walls as well in Dominion style custom houses and stuff. Same way with this, you can see how that's got a funky pattern. Hey Aurora, good morning. It's the bottom of one of the Macari pieces. I think it's the chair. Yeah, you can see how I'm hovering over it and it pops up. It's not actually usable anymore because of the way that they're utilizing it here, but it's multiples of them. Like, it looks like 6 different chairs for that. But the beds are tiered up and sized to make this nice little staircase. The bottom here, I suspect, is the bottom of the gear trophy. The only thing I can think of that's that white and shaped in that way. It's not a hard item to get a hold of. This is that dresser again, or cabinet, or whatever it's called. Technophage pillars. Again, I have no idea what all of this is. There's looks like some circuitry bits, a shrine possibly, or one of the uh, fountains, perhaps. And I think this is again one of those Macari. I think it's this one here. No, this the stool. See those pointy triangle pits? It's this here. See that? You've just got it angled in so and hidden inside the top of this. This part here, where it's blue and black lines, I think those are travel posters that have been recolored to add some little accents there. The blue triangles and stuff, I have no idea. It might be like different fireworks bottoms that we're seeing, and they've just kind of sandwiched them in to make this little funky design. But notice this part here. They've got these statues and stuff. It almost looks Roman or Grecian or something to me, the way they've done that. Looks like a carved statue kind of thing. Some decoration to put in there. Again, this is a faux building. You can't actually go in the door. That's played out over here. But amazing work as far as the design that they put together. So many little details. But keep in mind what this looks like. The dome here. Again, I think that's that dresser deal. A lot of detail and imagination went into that for sure. So this is the interior. So we would come in and this, oh, sorry, she's just flying around crazily. This is what we would come into. Let me get my character. So in theory, you would enter through that blue door, and this is what you would be presented with. And how incredible is that? This is like breathtaking. You wouldn't want to put anything over it because there's just so much prettiness going on. Again, I'm not going to be able to name everything that's in here, but I can guarantee there's a lot of Elden, there's a lot of Dominion and Macari pieces. But like the floor, I think that's the red rockets. The red rocket is like a red top and a white bottom. In fact, close that up, and now I'm going to use it again. I think it's rocket. Yeah, I think it's this piece here. And they're using the bottom of it, and then they made the pattern like a honeycomb kind of pattern, but then topped it with these little mini granite style floor panels to make this pattern. Again, this wouldn't be practical to have constructed this on its own and then try and furnish it. Now, they've managed to get away with this and the exterior part, but again, notice how they couldn't do the exterior and have it actually open up into this. So it's a little play on things, but can you imagine someone using this as an interior build on a custom plot and then trying to furnish it with custom furniture? The decor count's going to go up through the roof. But again, I'm not sure what all this is. Again, I think these are the bottoms of those Macari chairs, the same thing they were using for the porch. But this, I'm not sure. But look how beautiful that is. And it's very mesmerizing to look at with the pattern that they created with it. I assume it's all one piece. It could be multiple pieces just inlaid together, but what an amazing look to that. And of course, if you look up, we actually can see to the upper room. There's a hole in the floor. Um, Again, I don't know what all's being used in here. I think a lot of these are the dressers. And the purple couches, yeah, the leather sofas. There's some, I think those are all of the datascape windows, but I'm not sure. It could be some of those technophage panels as well. Sorry to hear that, Aurora. This will be sent to YouTube though, so you can take a look at it a little closer if you want. This part, honestly, I'm not sure what this bit is. I think it's the same item because of this here. And they just, you can see how many table, or yeah, it's the Dominion conference table, I think. Just how many they've used for that little walkway and the staircase. It's insane. This is not a cheap house to make as far as pieces. Look at that. It looks centipede-like or millipede-like. It's really creepy. Anyway, that leads up to the top floor. Now, I'm gonna ask you to forgive the camera bouncing around because when I was up here before, as I'm walking along the glass, the camera suddenly like hops. So I'm going to try and minimize that as best I can, but you can see the dressers, and I think it's that same piece that they're using for the top of the roof. I think it's just been recolored. I think it's usually red for this little bit here, and they've turned it to a blue. Yeah, it looks like some kind of a panel, Eldon panel. You can have the activate button. It doesn't light up as to what it is specifically, but it's one of those. Again, I'm not sure what this is. It looks like some kind of a strut that they maybe recolored. And then, let's see if I can get in a good spot here. There's the ceiling. It's a little dizzying for me to look at. Again, I'm not really good with that repetitious animation like that, but these are the colored screens, the panels, or whatever you want to call them, and they've turned it into like a schematic kind of thing, which I think fits really well with the robot theme kind of deal. I think this is the one that comes closest to what I figured people would add in. But I think some of these are the technophage doors or doorways, and then the circuitry bits to join them up. Like I think that's one of the emitters maybe for these end pieces. More of the circuitry bits. It could be some of this is just maybe some of the Soulfrost bits. It's kind of hard to tell from this distance, but a beautiful pattern. Again, a little rough on my eyes, but you guys could probably enjoy it a little more. But again, you can see how the flooring kind of wigs out my camera from time to time. I don't know why it does that. Just something I noticed, because it looks like they've laid some glass over top, maybe to minimize the bouncing. I have no idea. But again, you can see straight through the floor down below. And in this case, I float down. But what a fantastic efforts these builders put in coming up with these concepts of what they envision a Macari prefab home would be like in the game, using the assets that we were provided via the housing decor items available to us. And now, granted, if Carbine had actually um, put together something themselves, they might have actually come up with some new Macari themed decor pieces to construct it. But I thought, considering the limitations of what we have to work with, I think the builders, all of them, did a fantabulous job. And it's regrettable that, it it won't be recognized for what it is down the road, with possibly Carbine going, hey, I like that idea, we'll do something similar, that kind of thing. Us inspiring them into a specific type of build. But hopefully you guys will appreciate the effort and the time that was put in. Because again, when this contest was announced, this was before the closure was announced, and so everybody was in high hopes and positive thinking and everything. And then when the announcement broke that WildStar was shutting down, I think that deflated a lot of builders. Otherwise, I suspect we probably would have had a lot bigger participation. So it's unfortunate in that regard, but I'm still so happy that at least a handful managed to stick it out and gave their full efforts toward this little challenge. So let me land here somewhere. Now, I don't think there's anything in this. I didn't really look, so I'm going to assume that that's just happens to be there. I'm not going to bother with it. But as a final treat, before we go, we're going to visit Hortensia Sokolova. I think I said that right. Yeah, Bones. I was worried that maybe May would just say no more contest, and I did ask her if they were going to have the follow up, but she said that, or they said that no, they weren't going to do that. I think folks are just kind of using this time to again say their goodbyes, and just flying all over the place. Jumping is like really bad once you guzzle on that silly potion. Again, if I knew how to turn it off, I probably would immediately. But anyway, this is the Sokolova Theater by Hortensia Sokolova. I'm probably not saying that right, but anywho. It's a really kind of woodsy landscape. A lot of like leafless trees and shrubs. See how I took damage running into the rock there? That was weird. You can see part of the theater here. I think this is the Sulfrost Well, and then of course there's those gravestone statues. There's a lot of trees and shrubs and stuff from like the Shades Eve event. There seems to be touches of wintry stuff. The little glowy effect, I think, is from the bottom side of the medical cot to give kind of a spooky feel. You could also probably get away with using the bottoms of the haunted decor as well. There is a little back entrance here, presumably for the actors. We're not going to go up into it just yet because we'll come out the other way, but you can see there is a little path leading up to it. Do note they're using, instead of the usual staircase landings, they're using one of the dividers as the little landing. I thought that was kind of, I hadn't seen that before, but it matches the wood pretty nicely, and I thought that was a nice touch. And again, they've made their own railings and stuff too with the pillars. of varying sizes. The path is a variety of things. It starts off, looks like mostly Draken floors, or no, the walls. It's got that kind of marbly look. The thing I like to use is dirt. And then it switches to like the Draken fencing with the stones and little skulls inset in it. And then there's bits of overgrowth and everything. Good morning again, Aurora. I hope you got it fixed. I don't know why Twitch quirks out. Last week I had trouble with my sound shutting off. I had to reboot, which was upsetting. Thankfully, we'd only been in like maybe 15 minutes, so I just kind of quickly rehashed what we'd gone over originally. But it's just frustrating when that happens because, you know, it's just irritating. The little weird will-o'-the-wisp things that you see here, that's from the Buoyant Blue Crystal. Again, it's a fave that people like to use for kind of mysterious, fantasy, spooky looking or magical looking effects in a forest or something like that. It's also a big fave for those that like to fake in their waterfalls. Because it came with, it looks like, you know, splashes of water or a little bit of smoke, that kind of thing. You can see that for some of the terrain, they're using the actual Protostar Insta-Hills, and then just covering it with lots of different growths from grasses and bushes and brambles and different kinds of plants and stuff. Just kind of, I didn't really take a look on the outside too much, just making sure I didn't miss anything. A lot of builders like to put out their like little Easter eggy type stuff out and about, and I don't want to miss a little detail like that. I don't really see anything though. I think their focus was the theater itself, and the other is just kind of a mishmash of different trees and whatnot. Back, let's take a look at that theater if I can get a good, like Mary Poppins out here. Come on. There we go. You can see there's different types of domes and then accents. Those are the charming bars again, same way with this little dome. Lots of framed glass for these strange little patterns on the windows. The columns are multiple pillars that have just been offset from each other to yeah, I did, Aurora, and I'm glad you could make it and that everything seems to be working now. Always unfortunate when people come in and they can't see or hear things. But again, the layered glass is a fun thing to work with. Again, the more layers you have, the more frosted it becomes. So it really lends itself to some interesting patterns. And the pillars turning into the columns, again, it's probably like 3 or 4 different ones making that little thing. The blocks underneath the columns and the big part here, that's the snow blocks. The staircase here is, it looks like Chua pillars. This here, I'm not sure what that is. I think it's one of the tanks just inset down to make that little weird whatchamadoodle. The doors are the metal dividers. I can get a good bounce here. That was a lousy bounce. Oh, for crying out loud. Again, this skill, that buoyant whatever elixir that they gave, it works nothing like what I had hoped. I had thought that it was like a free range camera kind of thing, but you can't go up. You can only bounce off other things. and not accurately, apparently, because I am so lousy at my jumping. Anyway, get a good shot of the dome there. Soul Frost well, or the Soul Well, or whatever you call it, from Arctera. It's used in several places in here. I'll try and get another roof view later. Now, again, we said that there was that pattern that the bottom of the Dominion bed. That's what this is. It's really shiny, it's really gold, and it's really funkily textured. A lot of people love it. It's a little too shiny for my taste. I would be annoyed with that glowy light thing. They've added a little table with drinks. They've got the little keg. It's made out of 2 bowls and a Chua sipper cup, I think. This is the little ticket booth. It's charming bars, top and bottom, cylinders, curved glass, domes, the bust, of course, with the spotlights. I think that's one of the emblem things, or it might be the top of a chair, I'm not sure. And then, of course, the little ticket peeps. You can barely see her from there. Got these little displays. It's a combination of an Osun emblem thing with the Lop Shrine. That's where the glowing light is coming from, with a little bit of overgrowth to hide it. Some of that Soul Frost from Arctera stuff again, the curtains. We'll go see that in a minute. And then it's replicated on this side, this time using one of those, I think it's a pillar or something. Pell or I forget the name of the other one offhand. Yeah, it's something Eldony or whatever. The staircase here, whoops, I think this is where I died when I came to visit the other day. Is a combination of domes for some of it and pillars for the rest. That leads up to the VIP area. Whoop, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall again. Again, this little flying thing is not so easy if you aim wrong or run too fast. Maybe I should turn it off to walk. She won't bounce around so much. So again, this leads out to some balconies on top, I think. And then the sulfurous trimmed staircase leads to who I believe would be like the announcer or the host. I had to jump to get over that. So you have like I want to say it's that portrait, the back of it, it's the lady with the glass on it, and this has just been flipped. That's where the wing part is coming from. And then they put the chair on top of it with a bunch of different control panels and stuff. He's the one that runs probably the backdrops and things of the theater, the lighting, that kind of stuff. Get out of there, Missy. Snow blocks and such for the archway here. And then if you follow this path, it leads to, I don't know what you call the scaffolding in the back, something like that. This is where they control, again, part of the backdrops and stuff for the stage. It's mostly staircase landings. There's a bit of boardwalk, and then the rest of it is the decking pieces. That includes the railing and everything. The stairs, I think, are the Protostar version. But there's the catwalks all back through here. Which also happens to lead to the dressing rooms for the actors. And then I think this one is the office for, I would presume, the director or the one that runs the theater himself or herself, themselves. Here's like one of the dressing rooms. Pretty simple, nothing spectacularly fancy. Maybe that one room is for the lead actor or actress. But again, it's the same way all the way around. And you can get to it from both sides. That leads you to the, again, the VIP balconies and stuff, which we'll take a look at here shortly. Now, there is some weirdness. If I go down here for the backstage, let's see. Now it seems like I'm just inching along because I slowed it down. I love this staircase here. This is an awesome way of doing this. It matches up nicely, gets you to the different levels and looks. I could see this in a guild hall or an oversized inn or motel or something. It's just a lot of stairs. Now we're back down to the main level. Now there's this here. It doesn't look anything suspicious or anything, right? But if we go back here, this leads to the outside. This is where we can come out. You can either go this way, kind of a path, but if we go, speed myself up here. This is where that staircase was that we saw earlier. And again, these are all dividers instead of just actual staircase landings or whatever. They just put in the dividers. So it's a little bumpy in the walk, but not too bad. And I presume they're using this like maybe a door of some sort. Put it on walk again. Okay, so let me go back around the front. Looks like I've lost the, I guess it just wears off after time. We'll get it back when I try to do another exterior view, but thankfully that looks like it's off for the moment. So maybe I won't kill myself on the stairs again. Because honestly, I did. It was like that damage that you see when you're like running down a hill and you hit a pebble and you like lose half your health. That's what it was doing for me. I was like, what? Trying to run down the stairs and going, Okay, so now we're going to go into the theater prime, and this is what you're presented with. Closer out here. That's that dome that we saw from the top. These are the balconies here for the VIPs. The main stage area, there's an area for the orchestra, and then all of the various guests. Different types of chairs, I guess, depending on the price tag of their seat or whatever. These, I think, are domes or cylinders for this tiered little stair step here. That Soul Frost well, again, Sulfrost tubing, a lot of accents for that, for the trims and the banners and stuff. This is the portable holograph, the long one, with a little bit of the Sulfrost circuitry or whatever you want to call it from Arctera again. Most of the actual flooring here is hover park pieces for the ramps and all of that. Cylinders again for some of those structures, domes underneath to give supports here. Hover park pieces for the balconies again. Let me go up again. See it from the balconies. It's a pretty narrow thing. If you get a little stuck, you just kind of tinker with it and you'll have it come out a little better. But there's a good view of some of the balconies. Got that controller room and then the others. Now these are the orange chairs with books for both the bottom, the base. I think it's the grimoire. And then like the brown books for the armrest, and then on the end is bookshelves to make these fancy seats for the VIP balcony bits, and it's the same all around. Again, the inner dome, the ceiling is the charming bars topped with a Sulfrost well. Again, I guess this is the cheaper seating. I don't know. Place where the orchestra would be and the conductor. His is domes, curved walls, and then the bar for his little thingamabob. The stage itself, to get this pretty heart thing, they're using the bed. That's why you see back here like parts of the pillows. And I think even here, this part here is part of that Valentine bed, and that's why you see the little flower petals and stuff. That kind of thing. Yeah, I think these are part of those Cassian pillars. Now, I don't know what this is. It's just a tall file floating there for some reason. I don't know if they had meant to create their own microphone or if it's just a piece that they missed when they moved something. But I thought that was pretty funny to find it just floating there. Maybe somebody didn't like the performance and they chucked the bottle. I have absolutely no idea what it's supposed to be, why it's there, but I just happened to cross it when I was looking. See, there's the microphone there, so I guess it's not that. I have no idea what that's supposed to be. But I found it hilarious because I know when I've built things and I have a lot of pieces overlapping other pieces, and then I think that it's not like you have a click and drag and it selects everything for you. You have to kind of pick and poke and get everything as a single unit to move. If you miss one piece and it's small enough, it can disappear and you don't even notice it. Now, that's not the case here. It's pretty visible even at a distance. So I don't know what happened, but I thought it was hilarious because I know I've been like moved a piece and then later I'll be like walking through the grass and my character will get stuck and I'm like, what is it? And I'll zoom in and there's like a small plate or something floating in the air and I'll think, oh, I must have missed it and I'll just have to remove it. But yeah, it's just a goofy thing that happened. I don't know what the story behind it is. But there is a little down area here. And I assumed it was access to the bunker house or whatever, but I could not for the life of me find any entrance. You can actually pass through whatever this is. I think it's that bed again. And it leads out to the stairs here, but it's not like it's a solid floor. So I don't know what that is, what the deal with that is. And then if I go up even further, you pop out to where the backstage area is. So I have absolutely no idea what this was designed for. If I go all the way up, this part will turn solid and I won't be able to go back down the stairs. So I don't know what this was. I don't see a way to get to, there's like no hidden thingy. It's a little off if you look at the map. We're too far from the center where presumably the bunker house will be located. That would be more like out here. But we're too elevated to reach it. So I don't know. I can only assume that maybe they thought to possibly give access to it and decided not to. I honestly have no clue. I know they've got it matched up here with the little drop door that they have on the stage. So maybe they just wanted to simulate that somebody could be dropped down in it. I have no idea. Maybe they put on a magic show and someone popped up or something. I don't know what the idea behind that was, but as far as I can tell, there's no access to an interior area here. It's just the theater itself. That said, I love the concept. We've had a lot of theaters and stages for like arenas and stuff, and this is probably one of the better ones, really grandiose style as far as the size of it, the detail of the structure itself. Oh yeah, I remember that. And that's the fun part, I guess, those little quirks that we find, like our own little mini Easter eggs or something. But I found literally like plates and spoons and pillows that just floating or happen to be on the floor, and they're like little teeny tiny, and it's just some of those things that you miss. This is the inside of the ticket booth, by the way. For a role play trip, if they wanted, they could remove the or ask the builder to remove the NPCs and actually put somebody, an actual player there, and sell the tickets, presumably. So yeah, pretty amazing looking theater. Definitely a great role play thing. People could put on little skits and do a comedy sketch or sing, or who knows, some kind of speech thing or whatever. Oh, I wanted to get a look at this area from above, which is probably best done on the staircase here. There's a better look. The pillars turning into columns really just jazzes it up a bit. I mean, using just regular columns would have worked, but to turn it into using the regular pillars would have worked, but turning it into the columns, I think just adds a little extra. Okay, I'm gonna go chug down one of those weird potions again and see if we can get up on the roof of this thing. Okay, let's see if we can get flying here. Butter's meowing again. I think she's downstairs hollering for him. I just heard him jump down, so he's going to answer. That's not. Usually he just lays there and looks like, what? Okay, let's see if I can look my way up somewhere. A better. They don't have a lot of trees or anything close, so I'm not sure I can get up high enough. Trying to land on the top of the statue here. Presumably bounce from there. There we go. This is the top view. Now, yes, they got this weird little lamp thing stuck. It's to provide the lighting to kind of really make the inside of the dome shine. So you kind of got to give them a little slack for that. It's the same way with the other house. They had a big oversized sconce to brighten up the front view so you can see all of the detail, because it's one of the things with the house lighting, even if you just use the general version, but especially if you use more of this kind of hazy darkened look, you can lose a lot of the detail if you don't add appropriate backlighting or whatever, because it just, you lose it in the shading, the shadows. Yes, you can see some of the weird boards sticking out, but this is that dome that we saw from the main hall of the theater itself. They've got a little bit of trim showing, but the rest of it's all tucked inside this dome here. Whoops, see? Oh, nearly killed myself there. Oh, I did die. Very dangerous. That product is. I'll just go ahead and pay the amount rather than fiddling with it again. But that's what I mean. It's not exactly the ideal thing. I don't think the builders thought it would be something fun. And I guess on death you lose that buff. But look at this little dome thing. I thought this was pretty nifty. All right, Bones, we're going to be wrapping things up here. This is our last little visit, so you've seen the gist of it. Thank you for joining us, and hope you have a great week. But again, it's just resized down charming bars to make this lovely little latticed dome, or whatever you want to call it. Inside is the soul well, of course, and all of that fun stuffs. So that's it, guys. I think that's it for the tours today. I'm gonna risk jumping off here. I don't think I can land perfectly on the thing, but maybe break my fall a little bit. For those of you curious, I have been checking out MapleStory 2. I am slowly finding that I really do like the cartoony style of it. I'm still a total nooblet when it comes to the skills and stuff. Again, I just use my usual, I spam the buttons and hope for the best, which hasn't been working out too terribly well for me in this particular game, but it's entertaining if nothing else. I haven't really dove in too much with the housing there. It's definitely nothing like WildStar's in the respect that a lot of the furnishings and stuff are like the blocks you're giving. It's like everything's a cube. It's kind of, it reminds me of Minecraft. So even the beds and the stoves and desks and tables, they all fit within that little cube dimension. So it's like building blocks. And there's been some, I've been retweeting some of the images. There was one that made a treetop cafe, which I thought was pretty clever. I know somewhere someone did a pirate ship, but there's trickiness to it because you're restricted in the views that you can either look at it from the side, like a side scrolling, or like a, I don't know what you call it. It's like always looking at it from a certain angle. So if you have walls and you have your character walk behind the wall, you won't see what your character's doing or what's behind there because it's blocked by the wall because your camera is not allowed to move around. Like it doesn't move like this. It always stays like this, so always, you know, you wouldn't see this part. You would always be hidden by the column, which is frustrating, but again, it's kind of one of those, it's a challenge to work around that and figure out ways. So basically, most people don't put roofs on their houses. If they're building, some will just take it as if they're building a room, and then they use like half walls to divide the different spaces, between their kitchen and living room and dining and all that. Others will add landscapes and such. And again, if it's a building, it's usually just the two back walls, and then the whole fronts are open because, again, you wouldn't be able to see anything. I think there's ways around it. I know there's all sorts of little gimmicks that you can use to move your visitors and yourself through the house. I think there's like little built-in portals and stuff. Almost all of the furniture and stuff is interactable. Like you can sleep on the beds and sit on the chairs and play the games and cook, and it's just a little action that your character does and stuff. But again, I really haven't dived in too deep. I've just been kind of checking out what other people have been putting together, seeing what's possible, and then maybe I will put my brain to work and see what maybe I can come up with. But it's certainly going to be a challenge because the controls are drastically different, and stuff. There's also customization of the clothing that I'd like to get into, but I just don't know how soon it will be because, again, the game just opened up for Head Start. It hasn't actually officially opened for just general players, so I'm just getting a feel for the questing and everything. But if that's something you think you might be interested in seeing me stream, if it's, just doodling around on the housing plot, or maybe even the user generated content, the UGC, which would include like custom clothing and stuff, give me a word, because if there's actual interest from those of you that might also be playing MapleStory 2, I may be convinced to go ahead and stream that at some point down the road. I don't think it'll be anytime soon, but it's something that I may consider. Again, it's going to really depend on if I can actually come up with things that I feel like others would be interested in seeing. I'm kind of hesitant to do live creation because I'm so clumsy with the tools that we've been given. But it might be a learning experience that people can enjoy and learn alongside with me. I just don't know how I would want to approach it if I decide to actually dive into that. But in the meantime, I'm sure those of you that follow me on Twitter have noticed that I have been steering clear of just limiting myself to WildStar only tweets. In the past, it was strictly a WildStar related Twitter account, but now that is phasing down, I've been introducing more and more personal stuff, like about my cats, obviously, and retweeting things that interest me, like anime and other games. So I understand if you want to unfollow, it's not going to be a disappointing thing for me. I understand that people will want to follow those that follow or participate in things that they are interested in. And I know not everybody's going to be interested into things that I move on to. So I want to take this opportunity to thank those that have been following me for all of the WildStar adventures that we've been having and sharing. I appreciate it. But I'll understand if you decide you would like to move on to something else. Um, Same way with those that have been following me on Twitch and subscribing to my YouTube channel. Uh, Both of those will probably go fairly quiet over the next few months once the streaming of WildStar has actually come to a close. Again, our last stream is set for November 28th, which is the actual date of closure that they announced for WildStar. Um, I'm hoping that the timing will be just right so that I can stream my morning and then they will be closing the doors my afternoon. So I'll still get a chance to be in game for those that want to have a last little goodbye or whatever. But if it comes that they're actually shutting it down earlier in the day and that will interfere with my stream, then I'll do the stream the day before. But as far as I can tell, we'll be able to do the last one on the day of the closure. So in the meantime, we'll be doing some more house tours. I've still got folks that have been suggesting plots, their own friends, guildmates, that kind of thing. I welcome it, but I can't promise I'll be able to get to them. The list is already growing so long, it's been tough to try and pick and choose who's going to be on what. I do have some that are specifically I've been seeking out to showcase some of their last works. Aurora is one of them. There is a plot of hers that I plan to get to. I think that's not next week, but the week after, if I remember right. So still got some amazing stuff to come. So I hope you guys can stick with us till the end. And in the meantime, I hope that you guys are finding some alternatives for yourselves, as I have been trying to do for myself. Try not to be too depressed about the closure. I know it's a kind of a sad thing, but all good things must come to an end. So this is the case with WildStar, and we're going to just try and stay positive, make it a good closing, and hope that maybe some of us will meet up in another game sometime. So yeah, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.